Hi, I am here with Chief Nichole Mosely of the McMinnville City Police Department today, and she is also Mr. Walling Fraley's granddaughter, so we are going to talk to her about some of her family memories.
My grandfather, Walling Fraley, and he was married to Melba Fraley. They had a daughter, Barbara, and who is my mother. Of course, he had, opened up the furniture store, and Main Street was a busy place and fun growing up in the furniture store. A lot different, yeah.
I mean, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, but even a lot different than it is now.
Yeah,
still.
yeah, and I love seeing the growth that we've had and the development that's went on since, because there for a long time there was just nothing.
Right.
Whereas I remember being so busy. My mom worked up the store at Fraley's as well, so my sister and I, we raised in that store basically. I get to dust the furniture, make $1 here or there, so I thought I was getting really rich. And of course my sister was a few years older than me, so then she got to get to file some stuff, The older I got, the little more stuff I got to do, but we played hide and seek in the store, of course it was, you had the big staircase, and we'd love sliding down the banister. It was fun. We'd run around upstairs, and of course there was a third floor, and that was kind of dangerous to be in. So we really weren't.
How did you get into the third floor? I've never known.
There was a stairway.
Yeah, I think it was just a ladder when we got it to get up to it. Of course, there are new stairs now.
There was a pull down, and you could walk up
to it.
And then of course you had to be careful where you stepped, or you might come through the ceiling. And I think that had happened to one of the delivery people before.
And they just used that as storage, right?
Yeah. We had them all just hanging out, and then of course the parades that they'd have downtown, the streets would be crowded. There would be people in the street, throwing candy. You could do that then, didn't have to worry about getting run over. But the front windows, the display windows, was a big thing. Of course, my mom was real into decorating and everything, so she did the windows, and we had all these big things, especially around Christmas. And of course, my sister and I and some of the other kids that had grown up, where their parents were working there, we'd get in the windows and act like mannequins too, and then people walk by, and we might move or we might not. We did that all year long. But Christmas window was really neat though. And then when everybody would come to watch the parade, Christmas parade, because it was huge, some people would come in and want to sit in the window with us or whatever, which we were fine with, but we had a good view, and plus it was warmer inside there.
That's one of my things I'm most excited about since we've put in the Juliet balconies on the second and third floor there, is to get to watch the parades this year. I can't wait.
It was great. And of course you had Lay's that was across the street, they had the talking bird, and then I'd go over there and get their hot dogs, and you had locks down the street, I'd bring get a little a toy or something, and we'd get to the shoe store on Saturdays. My grandpa would buy us shoes or something, so we really had great times, growing up in that store. And then I think it's about in '82, one section of the store we turned into a gift shop, and so it started out small, and we had china and gifts and stuff. So then as it was growing, so my grandfather purchased the building beside it, which it was next to it, so we moved over into there and expanded. And so we had wedding dresses, we did weddings and china and gifts, and
dresses and
stuff. We had tux rentals. Cool. I used to dye the shoes for the match, for the bridesmaids' dresses and stuff. We did that, and of course, like I said, I grew up in retail. All those years, so and that was primarily my job, was over there and touch a class. Now Dawn would come and help some, but she she'd stay on the furniture side sometimes too, so really enjoyed that. And we had like big Christmas open houses. It was just a really fun time on Main Street. I love that time of year, so.
Fraley started actually in the Sedberry, and then he moved across the street, which would be about where Tops is now. And then it was also, I believe after that, he moved into where Francis Hillis Antique Store is now. Before then he moved, of course, in the longest period. But do you remember him being in any of those other locations?
I don't remember him being there, but I remember him talking about, I remember him and my grandmother talking about used to live in the Black House. Upstairs.
They did?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, an apartment. I remember it being in another place where he started, but them telling me that.
I know the one where the antique store is now across the street, so it's basically across the street from where it is, but there's transom windows up above the door. It's spelled Fraley's out on each of the windows, so there's enough windows that each letter of Fraley's is there. But apparently Frances took that off whenever she opened her antique store there. But so those were apparently there for a long time. But so those are the 3 locations that I've been told that they were. And then this article, it does of course say that, you know, he started down in the corner of the Sedberry there, so I was assuming it was that. But and then before that, he worked with TVA as a contractor, I believe, right?
Yes, he did.
I found a plans or something that had been sent to him for some bridge or something that was being built, and it was sent to him as the contractor with TVA. So he was interesting.
Yes,
he did a lot of different things.
He did.
I mean, went from electric company to furniture sales owner, and
He dabbled, you know, because at one point we also opened up a yogurt shop.
oh, I didn't know that. Where
And it
that
was
at?
over there where WDG,
Old Bellow.
the old Bilo, and it was on the corner. If
Okay.
you're facing it, it was on the right-hand corner.
And there's a smoke shop or
Yes.
something there now.
He
Yeah. Okay.
had
spot.
that, and he also had in that little strip mall had a game room.
Okay.
They opened up, you know, tried to
yeah.
make a go of it.
When was that? Like what year roughly period?
It was in the 80s. You know, I can't remember exactly that. Yeah, it was in the 80s. You know, he was trying to make a little go of this and that. He liked to dabble. You know?
Just like to be an entrepreneur and do things.
Yeah, he did.
I guess let's go back a little bit further then. Were they, Mr. Fraley and Melba, were they from here or did they move here? Like
They were from
originally?
here.
They were originally
Yeah,
from here.
yeah.
Okay. So he grew up here.
And my grandmother did. She, you know, had family from Viola area and plus Irving College area.
So very local. And I know that Mr. Fraley, he was on several different boards, like the Chamber of Commerce, and I don't know. I've read different stories about. Also, he was very involved in the community and involved with different boards like that and civic organizations.
He was
and things.
a Mason, and I can't remember what.
He was just very active.
Yeah, and of course we had Bologna Day that started, you know, there. So
Back when Bologna Day was this year, and so Begonias, they did a little Bologna Day thing that day, while of course everybody else went to the state capitol. But Ivy Hillis came in that day, and we got to talk to him a little bit about the first Bologna Day that they had. You know, when he said he stopped at the store, like when you're coming out of Woodbury there at the top of the hill, and he bought the bologna and came on, and then they just talked politics. So tell me a little bit maybe about some of your memories just in the building, like what might be one of your standout memories that you think of.
just growing up in it, and you know, sliding down the banisters and coming up there and doing homework.
I wish we had a picture of that staircase.
It was disheartening after the property sold and all that stuff, and it changed hands. And then when that staircase was taken out, you know, and all that was gone, I was like, oh, yeah, because I was working for the police department at that time, and I went in there to work a case, and I saw it, and it was just.
I know. Trust me, it breaks my heart too. That whole back wall was crumbling, and it just the foundation, the structure, there was no saving it. But we did save all the pieces and parts of it. So we still have all the stair treads. Actually, my desk in my office, which is actually what would have been Mr. Fraley's office down there, it was built out of the stair treads, and we still have all the other ones still too. So we're planning to use some of them in the upstairs spaces too, to be able to preserve. So we try to save everything we can, even though we couldn't actually preserve the staircase itself. But
another thing, I remember going out. I sometimes go out on deliveries with some of the guys to deliver furniture. You know, my grandfather, of course, he was big on us to learn to drive early, very early. but at one point, you know, to learn how to drive stick, you know. So I learned on one of the delivery trucks in the parking lot back there. So, you know, I was doing gear and everything. So that was fun.
I bet.
That was fun.
Has that always been parking lot for as long as you can remember? I've never found any deeds or anything else that there was ever any other building in that parking lot.
It's just parking lot.
It's just crazy to me that there's that large of a piece of property that was just parking lot and didn't have a building on it or something at one point.
We stayed busy. There was always a crowd, you know, and so they needed the room, you know, so it was always parking lot back there, and it would be full, especially when they had the giveaways at the Pinto, like you know, I had reference to earlier. But you know, that was a big deal.
Do you remember anything about the buildings behind it? So what would have been, I guess, warehouse space?
Oh yeah, that was where like Noel Todd and Walter Fisher, you know, they worked on TVs and because we did a lot of the in-house repairs and stuff, and they go to the homes too and work on it. And Walter would work on the dishwashers and stuff like that. So that was like a workshop. Yeah. You know, it was back over in that area. Okay. So we go, you know, my sister and I, or whatever, we go back and aggravate them. Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge property for y'all to be able to grow up on and explore. I mean, I'm sure y'all got into some trouble, and the hide and seek games too, I'm sure were very fun. I mean, it's such a big building. So. And
I'd like to sneak and get on the little dummy, the elevator, you know.
And the freight elevator there, it worked up until about, I guess we took it out about 6 months ago, and I mean it still worked. So I mean, I rode up it. It sounded scary, but it did still work. So and we kept all the pieces and parts and everything. Of course, the location where the freight elevator is going to be a bedroom upstairs. So it had to come out, obviously, but that was a big thing. I mean, to be able to carry all that heavy furniture up and down from 2 floors, because you didn't want to carry it down that staircase, you know.
They'd use that for that, but you know, of course, we like to ride on it. He was such a giving man, you know. He really was, and would help anybody that you know, any way that he could. People might come in and really couldn't afford something, because we did in-house financing as well, but he was always helping people out. And if they got behind, they got behind. He was very giving, and he was, you know, giving to my sister and I, you know, and everything. And he was all about his family. He gives the shirt off your back, off his back. That's what I mean. But he was always involved and always looking for starting other businesses and stuff. He just wanted something there to, like, my sister and I maybe could run at some point in time. You know, he wanted to make sure his family, other employees have a job, making sure everybody would be okay, taken care of, you know. So, I mean, he was big on that and worked really hard to try to, you know, keep the furniture store, you know, going. You know, of course, as time changes and it just.
But it was, I mean, Fraley's was a staple. I mean, because it was 1945 to 2000. I mean, 55 years to have a furniture store. I mean, that's a real legacy to leave, you know. And I mean, for you and of course Barbara as well, but I mean for his family, but for the community, I mean really.
It was hard to see it go, you know. Of course, I did get out of retail and went into, you know, the law enforcement sector, and my sister, you know, worked in it some, and hated to see it go. But it's just one of those things that happens, you know, that did, and because we all, you know, everybody was like a big family that worked there.
But I mean, too, even just with the civic organization stuff, and he was involved in or sponsoring. I know he was a big sponsor of like Dottie West Fest or anything that was going on in the community. I mean, when you look back at a lot of the different ads and stuff for events and things, Fraley's logo is always on there.
His mama was a big advocate, you know, for all that. Of course, he's always supporting whatever she wanted to do, and you know, getting good relations with the community as well. And he was just really involved in a lot of things, and even working in the job. I mean, cases that I worked, or been in people's houses, and then they figure out who I am, and they're like, "Oh, I just loved your grandpa. I missed that store. Or I loved your mom. Missed the gift shop." You know, because we did gift baskets. And
how long was Touch a Class open? When did it close?
It closed the same time.
About 2000.
Yeah. Mom made all these gift baskets. We'd sell, you know, that too. But it is running to the people, and I still have the furniture, you know, that your grandpa sold, you know, that came from your grandpa's store, and everywhere. I still hear that. You know, there are those that don't remember him or wasn't born yet, but they know things from their parents that have said, and then, you know, their furniture. It was such good furniture. He got passed down, and it's still good shape.
Yeah,
you know?
I think there was an ad I found, and it was like, we don't sell cheap furniture, we buy or sell quality furniture or something, you know. I mean he really cared about what people were getting, and it being a good quality product and stuff.
Yeah, he didn't want to be known as selling anything cheap, and he sold everything.
I think that shows to his character, though, that he obviously cares about what his customers are purchasing, and that it's going to be a good product for them, you know. I think that shows a lot to his character type of that he cares.
He used to sell guns, brownings, and you know, of course, TVs washers, dryers, you know, just everything. Piano, he'd be coming in with everything.
Where were those pianos at? Were they on the first floor or the second floor?
They had them on the second floor,
Really?
yeah. He had the storage area, the warehouse that was across the street where Tom
right,
Miner's
yes.
living. Of course, they owned that building as well. And the bottom section was a warehouse, so you know he'd buy some, and there was a cage, and he put them down there, you
Shift
know,
back
and
and
stuff.
forth.
Yeah.
Well, and two, as I've looked through some of the documents, you know, he actually went to some of the schooling to get, like, for the kitchen and bath and the different things like that to be able to sell some of that stuff.
Yeah.
He took courses and things in that, so
Yeah.
that's really interesting. I mean, to me, because as an interior designer, I do kitchen and bath and stuff, so, you know, I found some of, like, the workbooks, and it has, like, cabinet layouts and things like that he had to, I guess, study to take that course. So it's really interesting that he went that route with it, too, because, it just wasn't furniture, you know, but it was the appliances and how they work into your kitchen and your home and things like that too.
He was always thinking and trying to look ahead and learn all he could, you know, about everything. So.
Well, and he flew airplane.
Yes.
Yeah?
He had his pilot license. He had a plane.
Do you ever take your daughter in the airplane like you did the car?
No, and I don't remember him flying, you know, but, you know, he may have, and I just don't know. You know, we were talking about Mr. King, who he bought the property from. You know, I remember riding with him, and, you know, there was a time when he was watching my oldest daughter. Him and my grandmother was supposed to be babysitting, and she was probably 6'ish" maybe. She may have been younger than that. And I didn't like him driving with her just because he liked to look at everything but the road, basically. But I found out that she got to meet Mr. King, and because they had a little accident on the way, and she's on the way back. And when I went to pick her up, of course, she wasn't supposed to tell it. She said, "I met Mr. King." Of course, I saw there was grass in the hubcaps of the vehicle, you know, and he said, "I know I wasn't supposed to drive with her." Of course, my grandmother got upset with him, but he said, "Well, she needed a road trip," basically. But, yeah.
That's fun though.
Yeah. He had pool games on Monday nights. Jack Puckett and a lot of the other would be there, and they'd come over on Monday nights and play pool in the basement.
Okay.
And of course, I remember, you know, my grandmother, we'd love to go spend the night over there on those nights because she would serve them like water and, you know, peanuts or chips or, you know, little snacks or whatever. So we get to carry the trays down. And they was down there playing pool, you know, and they might have been betting a little bit. I don't know when they were playing, but, you know, getting to talk and listen to all their stories and just hanging out and watching them play pool, that was really fun. You know, my kids loved him, and of course, one of them never did get to meet him, but, you know, the other three did, and there's just a lot of different things. I can't pinpoint one stand out. It was just loved going over there and spend the night with them. We'd go over there quite a bit with my grandparents, and he, you know, spent the night on school night, or he'd come in and slide that door open, you know, "Rise and shine," you know. There was a saying he used to say, "Smile and the world smiles with you, or frown and you frown alone," you know, because if we'd wake up all grumpy or something, you know, like that, he'd do that.
Am I correct that there's two houses out by the high school? Is that where you grew up, and then their house next door? Or?
No. The house that they were living in was the brick one. Okay, my great uncle had built that house for them, and of course they lived there the whole time. The one that was on the hill, my great uncle had built that one. There was a great uncle actually, and my mom and dad had lived there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then my sister was born and I was born, and we were only there till I was about 1 or 2, and we moved to Florida.
Oh, okay.
So
I knew your mother later in life lived in Florida, but I didn't realize that.
yeah,
early.
we lived there till I was about almost 2 moving there, and then about 5, almost 6 when we moved back.
Oh, okay.
And we moved over on Westbrook Lane is where we were living. And grew up there, and of course that house had sold, you know, too, on the hill. And then later on, my mom had built a house on the other side of theirs that sits back far off the road. And of course, my niece lives there now.
Okay,
so.
yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I didn't know if it was like that you got to just run over, to grandparents' house or something when you were, but you were still close. Minus the time you were in Florida, but.
Yeah, of course, they didn't like it, that we had moved to Florida, and I think that's how come we ended up back, and talked to my mom, yeah, you need to bring those kids home. So we ended up moving back.
Well, as much as family meant to him, having his daughter and his granddaughters close, obviously would have been important to him. Just having family and being close, it is important. All my family, of course, lives here, and just being able to, 10 minutes across town, if you need to talk to somebody or whatever, that's important to have. So.
He was our father figure, in the family, because, we grew up without mine. So, I just remember back when, of course, I was little, where we had that warehouse across the street, and there's an apartment upstairs. Well, at one point in time, my grandpa was up there for a limited amount of time. But when I went up there, I remember being one of my friends that was on that balcony. When I'd spend the night with him on the weekend, or I'd between him and my grandma, but we'd watch people coming out of the Brown Hotel. It was very entertaining sometimes. Yeah.
That is funny. Lots of characters.
Oh, there were a few. But it was fun.
I know y'all, of course, Dawn does, of course, has the large Fraley sign. But, we still have the small neon one that was underneath the awning on the front up there. We're actually taking it to a place in Murfreesboro to try and get the neon restored. And we're going to put it, because we're going to have a small Fraley's museum area in the elevator foyer. So we have some of the display cases, that would have been in the store, and different pieces and parts and stuff. But so we're going to put the sign up in the museum too. So.
I think, weren't we talking about the clock one time?
Yeah, so we have the clock too. So it'll be in the museum too. I don't know that there's really much restoring that one, but and one side of it is still in really good shape. I guess depending on which way the weather come, one got hit more than the other. It's a very delicate piece, but we do still have that, so it'll be in there too. So. We've tried to preserve, as much of that kind of stuff, just so that people don't put signs or clocks or like on buildings like that anymore. It just isn't the way to do it. And so to have that part of history is really neat.
Those were good times. They were really good times. I'm just so glad, and I appreciate all the work that you've done with it. I remember the Brown Hotel.
Right. Yeah.
And that was on the very end.
Yeah, and we've dug up, as we have dug water lines and stuff out there, we've dug up foundation bricks out of the Brown Hotel, but we've saved them, and we're actually going to use some of them in part of it. So we've salvaged the bricks. So around where we'll have the private entrance for the residences upstairs, instead of just doing like a poured concrete pad, I'm going to take those Brown Hotel bricks, and we're going to make a cobblestone entryway for that there.
That'd be so cool.
But so we're really trying to pull in just pieces of the history and stuff into the property. But the Brown Hotel, it was a conglomeration of, because it went way far back on the property. It was a lot of different pieces and parts that had been added to that building.
It was sad to see it go like that.
That's a hard thing.
And all the work he'd put in, and everything. So I just think it's wonderful. And I told her, like I said, I hated seeing all the years with it sitting, and it's just. It just, makes my heart feel so good, and my sister as well, to see this being done and developed and keeping what you can, because the memories and everything. And when I tell my kids all about it, too, it's just, I just think it's just awesome. I just love it.
I think it's really neat, especially when you see it at Christmas time when it's real busy. I think that's really special, because obviously what Fraley's was, and there was a lot of life in it when Fraley's was open, but to be able to have that life in the building again, I think it's really special.
My mom passed away, it was 3 years ago. So as things, there was so much done, and she was just so happy to see, it really thrilled her. To get to see that. And then Christmas time with all the lights, we drove downtown, she just, she was just all about it. She would love to see the rest of it.
I hope that we do it justice. Because the history of it really is important to us, and being able to preserve the building for future generations, but to bring in some of the historical and architectural details too is important to me, because once we lose this history, or we lose the story of what it was, we can't get it back. If we, we don't tell the story, or the building's gone itself. So it's just really important to me to be able to preserve that and to have it here for future generations. So. Yeah.